What is conceptual design blending? This is the core theme of the class, the idea that random combinations drive radical innovation. Now we see this idea of random combinations in art. We see it in music, driving innovation. The rock band Queen, for example, a song like Bohemian Rhapsody, where they blend opera with rock. We see it in all sorts of music with rap and pop. In art, this idea of random combinations to come up with really cool, innovative pictures. But science, engineering, math, how do we bring this idea into STEM? How? Engineering's structured. It's ordered, precise, logical. There's one answer. There's one answer to a math problem. There's one answer to this. There's one right way to do this. There's really not a lot of interpretation, freedom to experiment. It is what it is. And yeah, that leaves a lot of students bored. There's no chance to express what they're thinking. And you see this in all sorts of articles, in news articles. There's no room for creativity in schools. Our education system is killing creativity. Not only that, it's jeopardizing national security. So, how do we bring this freedom we see in art and music into STEM, into engineering? The idea that conceptual design blending brings together these unfamiliar combinations of familiar ideas. And again, why is this important? It's because these loose, random, seemingly unrelated combinations can drive radical innovation. And we'd like to apply that to engineering themes. Now, we started this in class 1. The idea of cross-pollinating, take basic shapes and blend them, mix them together in all sorts of colors and patterns. We continued in class 2 and 3. We started with these basic primitive shapes and we combined them together. And so if we really went back to the lowest common denominator and look what happens in this class or any class, where do we start off? We copy. I draw a cylinder, you draw a cylinder. I draw a sphere, you draw a sphere. And then we'll modify, push, pull, change. And a lot of times that's where we stop, but not in this class. The idea here is, I'll show you how to draw a cylinder, I'll show you how to draw a sphere, and then I'll ask you to cross-pollinate, to make this your own, come up with your own interpretation. And so I'll show you in this example, I'll show you what I want you to build. All I want to do is round an edge. And so you see these two combinations lead to this. Now, here's where we run into problems though. I'll say draw a cylinder, draw a sphere, you round it. Oh, that's an interesting combination. So when I ask you to do a block, a cube and a sphere, you go, oh, I know what's in the professor's head. He just wants me to round the cube. And that's okay, but what's really happening here? It's sort of like a concept copy. It's too familiar. You're basically just copying the idea of what I did over here. Instead, what I want you to do is come up with your own unique idea. Make this your own. Take it in a whole different direction. Instead of doing something similar that I did, make it your own. So how do you do this? And this is really the core of this idea of conceptual design blending. What I'm really looking forward to is for you to try to blend these and do something unique. This looks nothing like this, but it's just another simple combination of these two shapes. You can mix it up even further. Why not put a sphere in the middle if you round the edges? So the idea is that you'll come up with your own variations on this theme. Now, You've done this in class already. You may have done it accidentally, but you've learned to make something your own with these basic shapes. In engineering, just like math, it may look confusing, but if you break it down to its lowest common denominator, it's really actually very simple. Just like with this cube, we just knocked a couple more these square shapes through there, took spheres out of the corners. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is things like this. We're going to raise the bar here, and we'll take a sphere and blend it with some boring stairs. And again, we don't do boring, but here's some of the things that I'd like you to think about, some more complex, varied answers. There's the 3D model. We print that out and we can hold that in our hands. So again, raising the bar, if I gave you this as an assignment, a pair of shoes and a mouse, what would you come up with? And this really forces you to think abstractly and imagine. And it can be frustrating, but what did one student come up with? This idea of these mouse shoes. And this combination of shoes and a mouse. And again, this is not my idea. I didn't come up with this. The best ideas are not in my head. They're in the students' heads. We just need to get out of the way and let you express that. Another example, class example, we come up with something boring, just a regular household lampshade. Again, that's rather boring. So what if we combine it with an S? What sort of things would we come up with? And so you're going to look for patterns, look for ideas. And here's what one student came up with. I think this is a beautiful interpretation. You see the S shape here. This is actually very simple. And he just mirrored that or rotated that around. So you see the two S shapes. And then he just rolled these basic semicircles, part circles, one side to another. That is a beautiful interpretation of being able to make something your own. And again, I could have never personally came up with that idea. The best ideas are not in my head, they're in your head.